Welcome. Where's my video? I don't have a video.
Money, we got that money, you been money. We talk about that money, we all about that money. Money. We got that fly Nubian money. We talk about that money. We all about that money. We love our black skin, our melanin, always focusing in on that money. We always win, money never thin, 'cause we hustling, always focusing in money. We got that money. Money. We that fly Nubian money. Boss talk, only we stack it up. We talk about that money. We all that money. I know we in money. I know we in money.
Just kidding. Welcome to Fly New Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Dr. LaNée Javette. Today will definitely be an interesting discussion. More women are openly saying that they are saying no to marriage and motherhood because they do not want to lose themselves in the process. For many women, this conversation is not coming from bitterness or rejection of love. It is coming from observation. Women have watched their mothers sacrifice for careers. They've watched grandmothers carry households. They've watched wives become default caregivers while balancing jobs, relationships, and family responsibilities. At the same time, women today have more education, more income opportunities, and more freedom to create lives outside traditional expectations. That shift is creating a bigger conversation around whether marriage and motherhood still feel rewarding, financially practical, or emotionally balanced. Again, I'm Dr. LaNée Javette, and I am joined with three wonderful, beautiful, smart, intelligent Black queens. We have Nomalanga, who is our marriage, motherhood, and money-making expert. We have Aisha, our financial expert, and we have the one and only Miss Black Hollywood, aka Karma J. How are you guys doing on today?
Good. Doing great.
All right, so let's talk about it some more. These young people. I don't know how old this person is. I believe we're framing this around a particular person. However, we've had this conversation a couple of times. Not this particular one, but we have talked about these generations that are coming up behind us, who are looking at our elders, not our ancestors, but our elders, and how they sacrifice for their families, if you will, right? And honestly enough, I have this conversation with men a lot. I've been having a conversation with men like, you Black women, literally, because I'm talking to Black men, you guys don't respect women of old. What happened to women of old? What happened to the women who did this, that, and the other? And I just be like, listen, we're living in a different day and age. Like, not all, but a lot of those of our elders, they had to stay. They were in the house. So, they did sacrifice a lot. Husbands were having families across town. And, sometimes they took a little pop in the mouth. They didn't have no place to go. They didn't have no jobs. And this other generation is looking at that. I'm going to start with Nomalanga. What are your thoughts when you hear, I don't want to lose myself when it comes to being married and or being a mother and or being a woman who has a family?
Well, what I see is not necessarily the younger generation. It's just what we coined like the modern woman. There's an epidemic of selfishness, and you actually hear it in that question where you say, I don't want to lose myself. And when I've always said selfish people they ruin everything. They ruin families, they ruin teams, jobs, careers, everything. So I think that is coming from that epidemic. Like I said, there's an epidemic of selfishness. So it doesn't surprise me that women will start to say that they don't want to lose themselves, because they really are selfish people.
Okay. What about you, Aisha? What are your thoughts when you hear that?
My first thought was, again, self-focused. They're so self-absorbed that nothing else comes in. Because if you only think about yourself and you don't even have any space for think about other people, of course that's how you're going to feel. Because it's all about me, me, me. What about me? And it's happening today, and that's because, again, people are just self-focused, too self-focused.
Okay. Your thoughts, Tiara?
Yeah, I think as a woman who believes in community, and I believe in all of that, but I also realize as a woman dating that as I've been talking to men, I realize that there is a part of me that has to die to be in a relationship. And so I wonder sometimes if it's worth, I think the person on the other end is worth that. I think the older you get, the more you're like, I mean, there's a lot that has to happen here, right? And realistically. And so am I willing to do that? And yeah, if I don't want to be single, of course. But I think it's okay to start asking those questions. Like, do I want to make, and for what has to happen, do I want to do all that? Like, I don't know. I don't see the issue in asking in reality, like, because I don't know if I guess it just really depends on the caliber of man you choose and your picker and all of that. But I do wonder if I don't know. I think you got to ask yourself sometimes, is it worth all that?
I think you do. And I don't think it's selfish to ask. I think it's a compilation of all of the things, because yes, you are going to lose yourself. It's the truth. However, what comes on the other side is up to you, right?
Mhm.
Are you losing yourself or are you evolving? Right? You're going from being a daughter to, depending on how you do it, if you do it Nomalanga's way, right? You're going to be a daughter, then you're going to be a wife, then you're going to be a mother. So it's technically like an evolution, right? So you are losing yourself because you're growing. Now I say that to say, in the right environment, right?
Mhm.
If you don't have the right environment, or even if you don't take the right process, let's say you go from daughter to mother before you become a wife. If you lose yourself in motherhood, then maybe you're not ready for wife, or you might be traumatized by relationships. So there's all these different things that happen. However, if you do the proper flow of being a daughter, then being a wife, sitting in that for a little bit, then becoming a mother, then it's like this blossoming thing of evolution. But even in that, we know people go through postpartum. We know that people can lose themselves after having a baby. I think support system, village, really just understanding who you are. I think a lot of that plays into it. But let's watch our first video and see. Let's see if the conversation started off with our first video. In the chat, let us know what you think, and we'll be right back in a second.
Ways that women get lost in marriage, they lose themselves, they lose their ambitions. Their life goes from being a woman who was chasing her dreams to being wife and mother. Once the woman becomes the wife, her identity is lost. First of all, she loses her name and she takes on the man's name. Women sacrifice so much more to be a mother than a man sacrifices to be a father. And when I think about the idea of motherhood, it's not worth me risking mental health issues. It's not worth me risking dying, because you can die as well. It's not worth me risking stopping my career, because I already enjoy my life as it is.
You're saying
like
dumb
I
stuff.
was
There's
saying,
nobody.
you're the dumb person here. I'm not saying dumb stuff. I'm a Sunday Times #1 best-selling author,
Please.
actually.
Here comes the hammer. Is that
Okay.
the end?
That's the end of that.
The end for us. Okay, so I'm gonna go.
Was she calling the guy dumb for not agreeing with her?
No,
I
I
think-
think he said that she was saying dumb stuff, and he was like, she was like, I'm not actually dumb. I'm a
Oh,
#1
okay.
best-selling
I'm
author.
an author. Okay.
It was in response to, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. She mentioned, the first attack was on motherhood, mental stability. We kind of talked about that a little bit, like postpartum, your body, right? Your body's going to go through changes. If you have a natural birth, you're going to have some issues, not issues, but, you're going to stretch out. You could tear. If not, you have a C-section, you're going to get cut. So there are things that your body does go through, right? Let's talk. And then, she mentioned when you become a wife, you completely lose your identity, you take on somebody else's name, right? So she talked about the naming process. So she had she made some points. I was glad to hear that, because sometimes you hear these people talking, they just be talking, but it sounded like she had actually thought about it. So when you hear her points, Nomalanga, what do you think, or what would your response be to those?
Yeah, I also caught the part about losing your name.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is, she's losing her name, which is her father's name. So it's not really hers. It's not her name to lose. And she has that name. If her parents were together, she has that name because her father gave it to her mother, then to her. And that's, like, again, like you said it very well, LaNée, is that it's a natural evolution. So I think sometimes it's like there's a lot of misunderstanding, and I don't blame her if she's, like, only 31 years old. I can tell you a quick story that takes about 30 seconds. I have a cousin we were born about 8 weeks apart. And I remember in December of 2003, I attended her wedding. And I was sitting with my grandmother, and I was telling her, like, this is not for me. I'm not ever getting married, and I don't want to, all that rambling, that feminist rambling. And my grandmother was like, oh, that's so sad. Can you at least just have a baby so we can help you raise a baby, Fast forward, I got married in March of 2005. That was less than 2 years later. And everything changed. So I'm just saying that to say that when you're young, and I had a lot of exposure to a lot of really great and successful marriage during the year of 2004. And then in 2005, I got married. So it is just what are you listening to? What are you exposed to? But when I was talking about ignorance, I was talking about the loss of the name. If you really understand men, you'll understand that the way that they function and what they protect and what they provide for, they have to believe that it's in their tribe and it's aligned with them. And that is where that thing came from, where you take on his name. The same thing happens with inheritances and things like that. It's like either you're in or you're out. And if you're in, I'm going to do everything for you, everything with you. You're part of my tribe. And if you're not, like you're saying, I don't want to lose my name, you don't get in on all the good stuff. You stay out there. So I think sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of that. Men and women are really different. And if you don't understand men, you will continue to just kind of go around in this merry-go-round and frustrate yourself.
Okay. What about either of you, Tiara or Aisha? Do you have what are your thoughts on what she had to say? Do you have any perspective or any ideas around the naming and or the body changing and or the mental changes that happen for women when they are having a baby or becoming a mother and or becoming a wife?
I'll let Aisha go first because, of course, we have thoughts. Of course, we have thoughts.
It's amazing. Just listening to her, the first thing I thought was, oh, she's young. I'm not surprised. She's a young girl. She's trying to live her life, and especially in today's generation and the way people are, I'm not surprised. She feels, I want to be like those, people that are successful. I see all these women. I want to be the same. And women, then she now gives her reasons and the excuses. Right? It's okay if you don't want to get married maybe at this age, but if you give that basis to say that is why you don't want to get married, then it means your mom shouldn't have given birth to you as well. You shouldn't have been born, right? Then what's the point? All of us should say the same thing and call it a day. So that just died right there when she said that. So I understand if you don't want to get married now or you don't want to get married ever, but this idea that these are the reasons. The first thing I said, well, your mom gave birth to you too. So hopefully, she didn't lose herself giving birth to you. She actually sees you as somebody she's proud of, that's somebody that she's so blessed to have in her life. And for me personally, I never thought about married life because I grew up in a community where when you get to a certain age, you get married. It was just part of the culture. And you had the husband, and the husband provided for the wives. and they had a great life. That was what I saw. So I didn't see getting married as something that is going to traumatize me, or I'm going to lose myself. I didn't think about it. I just knew that when the time came, I was going to get married, and if God blessed me, I was going to have children. That was just, that was just how I thought my life was going to be. And thank God that is how it's been. And I'm teaching my kids the same thing, because I think if you try to give excuses why you don't want to do something, you're always going to find more excuses why you don't want to do them. That was what I thought about her conversation and what she said.
Okay. I'm gonna come to you, Tiara. I'm not sure. I was with you on a lot of what you said, Aisha, but I don't necessarily know if we can, or if I can, I'll say, compare what my mother does to what I do, right? Just because my mother did it and my mother made those choices and decisions doesn't necessarily mean that I have to follow in her footsteps. And I think it's a pro and a con. To think or believe that our children are going to look at us and say, I want to do it the same way that you did it, and or have those same beliefs, because they're in a different generation, and what they're seeing and their experiences are going to be so different. Their values, unfortunately, are going to be so different because of the time that they're living in. Tiara, your thoughts on the video?
Yeah, I mean, I just think about when I got pregnant with Lauren, because I definitely was out of order, Nomalanga. I definitely had a baby first, or I met the man, and then I had a baby, and I was in the middle of pursuing a career here in Hollywood. And I literally, when I found out I was pregnant, I had just left LA. Like, I had an agent in Canada, I had an agent in New Orleans. I was headed to Atlanta for a meeting. I had an agent in LA. I had met with some really big players in terms of really like with just, I was really going in a direction for my film and television career as an actress. And once I found out I was pregnant, things shifted. My manager was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like, we had a plan, right? We had a plan. We were on and things kind of fell apart. And I had to restructure and just, of course, like I was like, all right, well, we got a baby, so we'll just maternity model, and like I start coming up with all of these ways to pivot in the moment, just so I could still feel like I wasn't losing my life, right, or my dreams, or what was happening. And so I went, and when Lauren came, I had to pivot all together. It just had to be. It just is what it is. I had to pivot, and it wasn't all bad, but it definitely wasn't the life that I thought that I would have. Now, of course, now to me, I feel like Lauren has what I thought. She has an opportunity to live kind of early what I thought I would have, and that's okay. I think that's fine, and I can still do all of the things now that she's older. But we can't say that it doesn't kind of change what you. It doesn't. It has to change. Everything has to shift, and I can't say I was completely, I never was going to not have Lauren, but it was different. And I kind of like grieved that a little bit. Now my life has been fulfilling with my daughter, but there definitely has been, sometimes I look back and I kind of like, just kind of like mourn those years that whatever, right? Like, if I'm being honest as a woman. And so I would just say that I was having a conversation with a really good, really like my sister, who is also my sister friend. And she just got married not too long ago. And she was saying that she's worked really hard for her name. She's done so much with it, and brought it up, and and she was like, I haven't signed the marriage license. I mean, we married, yes, but I haven't signed it because I don't know. Like, I don't know. We're gonna have to dash because I don't want to lose my name. Like, I'm already giving up so much. So there is a real thing that women feel, even older, not even 31. She's 43. And she's like, I don't know. I feel like I've worked hard for this, and now I'm just giving it over to somebody else. And now I have to take his name, and that's fine, but it's not fine. Like, she really has a thing about it. So I would just say, all in all, these are real things that come up for real women, at least in my circle. It's not all just peaches and cream and like take it on. Like, there's a real mourning that happens in certain instances, and maybe that is selfish, but it's really happening.
I think we want to say it's this younger generation, but I think Nomalanga said it's like it's a modern woman thing, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we go back again to historically, women didn't have much. The man comes in and takes care of you. Like you willingly go take on his name for his covering and his protection and his provision. You're going historically from your father's house to this man's house. And so it's a blessing. Like, oh man, I'm about to be married. I'm about to have family. He's about to cover me. I'm about to be home. I'm about to take care of these kids. It's going to be this beautiful thing. Somewhere in history, we got off track and women became the caregivers and the breadwinners and the providers. Not saying it's right. And I'm not saying they're supposed to be that way, because it's not. That's just where we have gotten off track. And so now you have these quote unquote modern women who have built names for themselves, who have bought homes, who have provided for the children, coming into relationship or coming into marriage. And when we do it properly, I was about to say it the wrong way. Your husband is the head, right? And so you slide out of the driver's seat into the passenger seat. And depending on who you are, that could feel like an identity shift, right? Mm-hmm. You have to let somebody else drive. You have to let somebody else provide. You have to let somebody else lead, right? And so I can understand it, but in reality, like, that's supposed to be the goal. Like, that's supposed to be the goal. But I think when you start thinking about the modern woman, it gets a little bit tricky. Nomalanga, why do you think so many women are reconsidering marriage and motherhood? I mean, I guess I kind of explained why I think it is, but why do you think it is?
I think, a lot of times we've lost our way. I was just typing here in our backgrounds that in most African cultures, women didn't go into marriage with nothing. In fact, there was an exhaustive process to vet a husband, if he was good enough to be a husband, if he came from a good enough family. And then before they even got married, he had to secure the woman in the event that anything happened to him or he left her. So she was typically much more well off than him, separate from him. And I know people like this thing of, well, if she left him, she'd starve. That actually is not true. It's him that might actually starve, because even if he leaves, she typically would get everything. And I know even modern American men have this anger that, if you mess up and she leaves, she take half or she take everything. But that's actually a cultural thing based on women actually being disadvantaged if a man leaves her, especially because they usually leave her with the children. So that narrative has to stop, that women were starving and then a marriage was going to save them. And if they got out of a marriage, they'd go back to starvation. That culturally isn't actually what was in place. Why women aren't really excited about marriage and motherhood? Yeah, it can be about selfishness, but it's because people are not going through the process properly. If you get married to a bum, it's going to traumatize you. It absolutely will traumatize you. And again, if you've seen other women, even if they weren't married to bums, if men were good, they built a house, they were responsible, but like LaNée said, they had another family down the street, that's still very traumatizing. If there are all these horrible things that can happen, and that is actually true. You don't have to take away from people. People have had those experiences and those things are true. But let's also talk about the fact that there are instances where that actually didn't happen. They're good men. And I always say especially when I talk to young women who are like on the fence, but they're kind of nervous, like, what if I make a bad decision or whatever? And if it's somebody that I know, like two of us ladies here are yet to be married, you're amazing people. And your very existence as a woman who's amazing should tell you that there is a counterpart. There is a man out there that's amazing. And that'll be your match. You don't have to match with something that doesn't match you, right? So some of these things are just narratives, and I just take issue with the narrative falling to the negative when there's so much that is also positive. And yeah, I'll stop there.
All right, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. Let's look at another video, and then I'll come back and ask you two some more questions.
So this next video is also from the same young lady.
Okay.
All of them are from her today. There's only one that's not.
And who I love, and I wouldn't marry them. Because I don't see marriage as something that I do just because I love someone. I see marriage as something I do because it's going to benefit me. It's going to make my life even better. Love as an emotion doesn't necessarily materially make your life better. It just makes your life easier to cope with, but your conditions are the same. I'm going to require more than that from a man, because if that's all that love can do, I already have that around me. So why would I marry a man for what I already have? I'm not marrying a man because I love him. I'm marrying a man because he loves me way more. And that's how I know I'm going to get the best I can get out of this. This is how I wish women would think. But they don't think that way. They think, well, we can just help him build. He's struggling right now, but I love him and I just see the potential. Potential is a dangerous word, girl. Is your life worth throwing away via a dice toss? That's essentially what you're doing. You're shuffling dice in your hands and you're tossing them just to see what's going to happen. Because potential isn't impossible to meet, but not everyone meets their potential, babe. You can't go off of potential. I would never in my life advise any young woman in my life to prioritize a man's potential. Potential is not proof of concept. Potential is potential. Proof is a different concept altogether. So if a man is displaying signs of incompetence, then that tells me that he's the kind of man who will be probably sloppy with money, unreliable. I wouldn't marry him.
Okay. Aisha, what are your thoughts?
What she's saying is true. It's all about the vetting process. I don't see anything wrong with what she's saying. I think sometimes when we hear clips from people on Instagram or whatever it is, like she's speaking, if we take it out of context, we might think one thing and not the other. What she's saying is correct. When I got married, all those things were looked through. But what the problem today, I think, with young people sometimes is they make decisions by themselves. So they have a lot of trauma. There's no vetting process. Oh, he's good. I think he's good. And then they go with that person, something happens. And then not just one time, several times. So they have this collection of trauma that they use now to project into their future. Of course, you're going to always have problems. But if you vet it properly with family around you, helping you make the decisions, then you might have a better chance than just winging it. Like it's cooking spaghetti and say, well, let's just say just anyone goes. No, of course not. If I'm going to get a life partner, there has to be a process that we go through with the family all together, with their friends and everyone, and see if there's a match there before we even do anything. But they're not doing that. They're hooking up. They say they shack up, hooking up culture all over the place, and then they're wondering why things are not working out. Some of the problems are because of not doing the right things in the beginning. So let's actually be honest with that. That's why all these young people. I talk to my kids. My kid now is in college. I tell them, I said, these things will happen no matter how well you were raised. If you don't follow the proper process, you will also have those trauma, and then you start projecting into other people and into life, thinking that's the way life is going to be. When we know that is not the case. That is what I thought.
Can I say the one thing that she also said that Aisha said is that the hookup culture, sex has been proven over and over that your mind doesn't make good decisions once you've had sex. You become attached to the person, very attached to the person, to the point where even when there are red flags, it's like there's this blinding effect that happens. And guess what? It happens to women more than in fact, I don't even know if it happens to men, but it certainly happens to women. So they're the ones who start attaching all these beautiful things to a horrible person because the sex has caused them to be attached to the person.
Constance says it's stigmatized. Those are her words.
You say that. She said it. Red flags start feeling like Six Flags.
Red flags feeling like Six Flags. Tiara, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Okay, so what do I think about what she said?
Yeah. So
What do you have,
The
Coach?
thing that I'm not necessarily in agreement with her, but the thing that I do like about her is how articulate she is. Like, I feel like she sat and thought about it. A lot of times when we hear these types of clips or we hear these types of things, they're just throwing out jargon, right?
Mhm.
But she's actually articulating her point well. I don't have to agree with it, but just the way that she's presenting her case, if you will. To
Mhm.
me, it almost sounds like she's seen something, she's experienced something, she's watched somebody go through something, and she was like, I don't want no parts of that.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's how she's articulating it so clearly, because I seen Janie go through this and have this experience, and I've seen this turn out this way. I don't want no parts of that. So it feels like she one has never experienced love, or she has and it broke her down. Like, but I feel like she's coming from a place of experience
Mhm.
from the negative more so than having been properly treated or having seen something that was beautiful where she felt like, I want that. I feel like she's looking at something that's like, I don't want no parts of it. What
Yeah.
do you think?
Yeah, I think we all come from a perspective, right? Like we all that's the only way we can live our lives is through our lens. That's the only lens that we have. Fortunately sometimes and unfortunately sometimes. And so I think what she said is fine and I agree with her. Like as a single woman dating, I agree with her. But what I'll say is everybody can't think like this. Right, it can't be. I think that what happens is like, what if every young girl think about this? Nobody would have children. How are we going to populate the next generation? How are we going to how right? If everybody's like, I want to do me. So I think that that is the biggest I was her, not necessarily like because of that, but when I was younger, I definitely just based off my experience, the way I grew up, I was like, eh, I don't want any children. Or if I do, I have a baby at 40, I'll Halle Berry it. That's what I kept saying. And then I moved to a city that further perpetuated that entire, like the culture in LA is not to have children. Family, everybody is temporarily just doing all the things. Everybody is nobody can really be rooted because everybody is in pursuit of something, right? It's just a very this is what this town is about, every temporary. Because once I get on, right, I don't want to have, I moved to a town that kind of that encouraged that thought processing, so much so that when I told my family that I was pregnant, my mom literally said, thank you, Jesus, somebody that knocked up Tiara, because literally all my life I've been like, no. So I agree with what she's saying, but I also feel like thank God I had Lauren. She has been the amazing part of my life, and I think until you get to really experience that, or it's like one of those things that at first you're like, and then once you experience, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. The most amazing thing that I could ever have in my whole life. So I don't know. I think that those are my thoughts about that. Everybody can't do this. Everybody can't think like Sunflower. A real have a real
You
problem.
notice though how she was just for the first, I actually counted. She went me,
Nee, nee, nee.
and again, there's nothing wrong with asking yourself, like, is this person bringing value into my life? Do we have the same values and beliefs and what have you? But this is what I find with a lot of now, and again, I keep saying it's not women in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, and in their 50s. They're all talking about how they will benefit from a partnership or from marriage or from things. And then when you investigate, like, okay, great, that's a great list, 100 items that you need to be happy or whatever it is. Now let's talk about you. And they're like confused, like, what? I'm supposed to have, somebody's going to have a standard for me to meet? Wow, what do you mean? And it's more common than you can ever think. The modern woman is extremely underdeveloped in terms of building a family, a community, or anything beyond the career. They tend to be very developed, very educated, and will climb the corporate ladder or whatever it is, will go to all these trainings about how to market, about how to be successful in the business world. But they're very, very underdeveloped, even just to be a mother. And some of them are already mothers, but they're extremely underdeveloped in terms of what it takes to be a really good mother to that child or to those children, and underdeveloped in terms of how to build a marriage, a community, and a family, and even wealth. They're extremely materialistic as well. So that's what's bothering me about her whole thing. Like, what's he gonna do for me and me and I literally counted, it was like 4 me's and then 3 I's. And she never once said, I would do this, or this is how, or this is what I would do, or this is who I am. Not even once. It's like it's not even a consideration.
Mama
What are you
gotta
guys'
have a
thoughts
life
on?
too.
Huh? What'd you say?
Yeah, mama gotta have a life too, Nomalanga.
What are your thoughts on her comment about he has to love me more? I've heard that a couple of times. I've heard it on both sides. I've heard men say, I need to be a woman that loves me more. Like I think she'll show up for me better. She'll nurture, she'll do what she's supposed to do if she loves me more. I've heard women say, he gotta love me more. He has to love me more. That's how I know I can trust him. He's gonna take care of me. She mentioned it. I was wondering if you guys was gonna speak about it or pick up on it, but since nobody said anything, what are your thoughts? Should a man love a woman more? Let me know in the chat too. Y'all tell me what your thoughts are. In a relationship, should a man love a woman more, or should the woman love the man more? And does loving one or the other more mean that that person will stay or that the relationship will be better?
I picked up on that, and if you don't mind, I'll answer that because my sisters, I have 2 older sisters, and of course they told me about watching them as well, dating. They said, make sure that the man chases you, that he wants you. Don't be the one looking for him. He should look for you. He should be the one that wants you. So if that's what she's meaning, then it makes sense. Because if you are the one chasing the man, it reverses the whole dynamics. So in that case, that was what I did. I wanted the man to want me, to chase me, to say, I want you to be my wife. I want you to be with me. I want you. Then I was able to reciprocate that because I said that, okay, the person cares about me. Then before I knew it, I started falling in love with them as well. Then together, after time, then we create a family together. So for sure, I caught up on that too. And I said, oh yeah, that was what my sisters told me too. Say, hey, no, he should chase you. You shouldn't be chasing him. So
That's dating though. That's
yes,
dating. That's
dating,
not when when
yes.
you're already together, it's not a competition
It doesn't
about who
matter.
loves.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, it's not a competition about who loves who more. It's about whether the man loves the woman correctly and the woman loves the man correctly, because it's very different. Because I think sometimes you get women who think that a man should love her the way she loves him, and that's never going to happen because they have their own language and we have our own language. And I've said it before, and I sometimes get some pushback. A man's highest currency is respect. If you don't respect a man, it does not matter how deep or big your feelings are for him. You want him to believe and you really want to love him, you have to respect him. That's his currency. And a woman's currency is adoration. If you don't adore your woman and she's not like the most prized thing that you have, it really doesn't matter, again, about all the other things. Because you've seen men who do everything for their women, but she's still like, I feel like I'm not like his queen. I feel like that. And it feels like something I'm missing. It's because it's missing that adoration. She has to feel like she's adored. And if she doesn't, it's almost like it diminishes everything else. And the same applies to a man. You can do everything correctly, but if he doesn't feel respected, everything else kind of just feels like you'll be constantly complaining and like something's missing. So it's not about who loves each other more. It's about loving each other correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, can I add to this? I'll just say, I think it's easier for a woman to make that decision and say, it's easier for a woman to come around that mountain if the man is already there. Because he is the leader and he's like, I choose you. It's easier for a woman to go, okay, he choosing me, girl. He chose me. I'm chose. Okay.
Pick me.
It cannot be the other way around. A woman can't be like, I choose you. He's gonna be like, girl, it's going to be a disaster. If he goes along with you, he's going to put you through hell. So if he hasn't chosen you.
That's true.
So, I mean, those are my, it's easier for women to be like, okay, all right, cool. So those are my thoughts.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let us know in the chat what you think. Do we have another video? Let's go to it.
Actually, I have 2 more videos, but it's some again, and then the last one is not her.
Let's do them back to back.
Do them back to back. Okay, cool.
Thank God.
Most women are better off single. This is stuff nobody wants to hear. Another thing that no one wants to hear is, you know what? You might not meet the one. You might not. You might not meet the person that you'll marry. Let that narrative sink in so that you remove the power that it has. Okay, what if I don't meet the one? I still have a life. There is still so much left to explore about myself and this world. I still have friendships. I still have connections. I can still have moments with men. This idea of the one, remove that, because I promise you, where do you see men talking about I'm up all night wondering, will I meet the one? Where do you see men losing sleep over the idea of meeting the one? They'll just be like, look, at some point, I know someone's going to take care of me. I know that all I need to do is just be a man, and there will be a woman that's desperate enough to have me as I am. Have the confidence of a straight man who is losing his hair. Have that kind of confidence. You're not the one who should be worried. It's men that should be worried, not you. You will always be able to find somebody who will do whatever it takes to be with you. But if you don't believe that that's possible for yourself, then you may never know that reality. So consider that.
I'm not gonna lie. I like this young lady. I don't care what you guys say. I like her.
I didn't like her. I said she was leaving. I
don't like her at all.
I just don't agree
I
with
like her. I just don't like what she's saying.
I don't like what the way she's saying it and how she says it, but yeah.
And the thing is, she keeps trying to, like, there's this competition in her head. Like, okay, if he can do this, then I can do this. And believe me, I've said this for so many years. As a woman, if you try to function like a man, you will always lose, because a man's always going to be better at being a man.
That's what I said.
You'll never win. Yeah,
you're not a man. That's what I wrote down. Yeah. You're not a man.
Yeah, you'll never win at being a man.
I don't not like her, and I don't not necessarily like what I don't even not necessarily agree with what she's saying. I just feel like it's coming from a place of adolescence. Let me say that, because I remember when I used to have those same kind of concepts and ideas and thoughts, right? And as I have aged and as I have grown and as I have loved and lost and just matured, my ideas have evolved, right? I'm so sorry if you guys can hear the fire alarm. They're testing the fire alarm in my house.
It sounds like a school bell.
Do you hear that? I'm so sorry. It's just I'm like, I didn't ask me if I was doing a podcast this morning at all.
It's not as loud as you think.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not. I couldn't hear
it. But that's the thing, right? It's like I understand when you're 30 years old, you know what I'm saying? I already had a kid at 30, but I've said this before. I didn't want to get married and I didn't want to have kids for the majority of my life. Like no marriage, no kids. I get it. When I get pregnant, my son's father is like, "Yo, we having this baby," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think so." And he was like, "No, we having this baby." And I was like, "Oh man." And my mom was one that was like, "Listen, it's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to do it? Can you do it? And are you willing to do it by yourself if you have to?" And that's literally how I have my son. And he changed my life. My whole life changed. My whole identity changed, but for the better, right? And I understand that that's not everybody's experience. Right? You really have to have your own experience. And so that's why it's like, I don't not like her. I just think it's adolescence. I think she just hasn't found something worth holding on to. She hasn't had an experience that made her feel like, man, this thing is good. Because until you have that experience, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know if I would have ever had kids if not for my son's father, because I was on the track of, I don't want to have kids and I don't want to get married. So I understand it. At 49, I'm looking at it like, oh baby, you ain't experienced no life yet. But she's not wrong to feel that way if that's her experience, right? Go ahead.
Can I ask LaNée, what was behind that? I don't want marriage and I don't want children. What was behind that?
Damn you, Nomalanga.
That's a great question.
Selfishness, but not selfishness. I don't want to, for me, it was, I don't want to touch myself. I don't want to have to sacrifice. I didn't think I was going to be a good mom. I have a mean streak when I was younger. I don't really care about what other people say or think. The Virgo in me is very particular. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, this, that. Like I'm very, might even call it rigid, right? And so when I'm younger, I only can do it this one way. I don't believe that I have the capacity to stretch to let somebody else in. It's enough for me to get through my own day and take care of myself. I don't want to be responsible for nobody else, not a kid or a man, right? Um, in hindsight, I would say I knew myself, but I didn't. I discounted myself. I didn't think that I could expand or evolve. I thought that I was just this way. And so the safe thing to do would be not to put myself on somebody else. So no man's going to be able to come in here and tell me what to do. And I definitely don't want to be trying to take care of nobody's kid. So I just felt like I shouldn't have no kids and I shouldn't get married.
See, for me, the phase.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say the phase when I went through where I was saying I didn't want marriage and I didn't want to have kids. The kids I didn't want because I felt like you had to be married to have kids. So it was actually just the marriage that I didn't want. And it was because I had seen women who were in like horrible marriages. And I just felt like there's no way, and like a lot of cheating, and they wouldn't leave these men who were cheating. And I remember there was like the AIDS epidemic, and in my mind I thought, wow, you could be a good little woman at home and he goes out there and drags up some STD. It was just like this horror that I was like, oh, I am having none of that. But what I thank God for is that I also saw the opposite of that. And that has been like, that has changed my life. And that's with everything now. It's like you can look at horrible things or you can look at good things. And if you had a choice, why would you look at horrible things rather than look for good things?
Everything now.
Yeah.
At Real Talk, Arthur said Dr. LaNée used to be toxic so much. Super toxic. Way toxic.
Super toxic.
I used to say, my dude today, he still called. He was like, okay, little man. But when I was younger, I thought I was a dude. Like I operated like a dude. I dated like a dude. All the things. I felt like I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me. Matter of fact, you aren't even gonna get close enough to hurt me. Like I was a hot mess.
The trauma. If I could just add my little piece to this, I'll just say, like, I grew up without parents. I grew up in a community, though, of a really good family. And so I still had the stain, though, even though I had seen different people be married and different people in my family, I still felt like there was not having a mother and a father obviously affected how I saw family. And I just didn't want to mess it up. But you know what Lauren did for me? Is everything that I felt, the natural selfishness that comes in your teens and 20s. Because, right now I would say my daughter is a little narcissist because all she cares about is self. She'd be like, I need my nails done. I need this. I need that. I need, like she cares about other people. Obviously, she's a caring kid, but there's a part of her that is self-absorbed. And I think all teenagers and 20-year-olds are like that, right? It was her that taught me how to be selfless and to love outside of myself and be considerate. And if I'm being honest, it took a while to get there. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want that. Even, but as a mother, you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to want to do that because I'm a mother and this is my child. But I really had to learn, how to share in a way. Like it's so strange, but they teach you how to not be so self-absorbed, I think. And so that's the beauty of being a parent. So that
they might even force you. Sometimes they force you.
And anchor, because I'm a and not that I hate when I be like, because I'm a Gemini, but there's a flightiness, I think, that I won't say Geminis have, but I will say that like there's a gypsy, like kind of like flighty. Like tomorrow, if Nomalanga was like, come to Botswana, I'd be like, I'm coming. Tomorrow, I'm going. I wouldn't even think about. That's just always. I have an adventurous spirit, and I just want to go and be gone.
Free.
And be free. And there's a part of me that doesn't like to be because it makes me feel suffocated. That there's parts of me that needs the adventure and the spontaneity that unfortunately having a family sometimes does not bring. And so Lauren has anchored me in that way where it's like I still have to have it though. I still have to feed that part of me or I'll feel like not me. And I think if LaNée, if I could toss it back to you and say, I think that's what people mean by I'm going to lose myself, because there has been days where I've been like, this is not who I thought I would be, because I had to be anchored, or I couldn't just get up and go, or I had to like consider, my daughter
Somebody
and
else
her
first.
father, right? Like I got to consider them all the time. And I'm like, oh. So I think it's a real thing. That's why women feel like that.
As you were talking, I was thinking, because I'm a true Virgo. I'm not into astrology, but I am into behavior and ideology and stuff like that. And I think
Right.
that there's a connection there.
Yes.
And as you were talking, I was thinking that the reality of it, or the Virgo in me of it, was, dang it, I lost the thought. You said something and it was so impactful. And I was like, man, that's literally what it was for me. If I can't do something well, I don't want to do it. Like that's the Virgo in me. Like if I can't do it right, and I did not think I could do relationship right because of my daddy issues, and I didn't think I could do motherhood right because of my selfish issues. And so for me, it was like, if I can't do it good and I can't do it right, I probably shouldn't do it. And I didn't think I was healed enough. I didn't think that I had the compassion and the ability to give to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, when I had my son, I still didn't have it, but he caused me to have to dig in here and pull it out and rise to the occasion. And so I didn't, there is that fear of losing yourself, but I think it's really, what do you do with this next version of yourself? Do you feel it's a loss, or do you feel it's the next level? Because it can be either for a person. For somebody, it can be. It really can be losing yourself. And for somebody else, it will be the next beautiful level of who you're supposed to be. So, okay, we have 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. You still want to do the last video? Because the final thoughts be running.
They do. So we got to either, so the idea
One or the other.
Okay, so I will do final thoughts, but I want to say this. The video is a father talking about his son saying the same thing, like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have children. And so I think that was for me, it was like a fire alarm, right? In my head, saying, what if all modern women and modern men think this way, right? Like everybody, the kids are already saying, like, I would rather stay in the house, play video games, and not talk to women, right? That most of these children don't even have girlfriends. They're not even having conversations with girls. They're not pursuing women. So they're just staying in the house and saying, I'll just focus on technology and whatever else. So that's the concern that I have. So I feel like I would tell you that so it can add to the conversation, but that is the conversation.
All right. We now have 4 minutes. So we have 4 minutes to do final thoughts. That means you have 30 seconds to get your final thought out and where people can follow you. Okay. We'll start with you, Aisha, 30 seconds. And then we'll go to Nomalanga. And then we'll go to Miss Black Hollywood. We'll come to me. And now we have 3 minutes. Ready, set, go.
You know what? When it comes to matters of life like this, we are going to have to make our own decisions based on how we were raised and what we face. But at the end of the day, don't allow social media to tell you what to do. Just because somebody had a rough life doesn't mean you're going to have a rough life, right? So it's all about perspective, and also be open. Be open to what God has for you. And to be open is for you also to kind of quiet yourself and not allow all the distractions to take over. Well, you can find me at the Black Business School, and also you can reach me at aishaverzi.com.
Oh, good job, Aisha. Good job.
And today we're doing a Rise segment at 12 o'clock.
All right, Nomalanga.
So when I started the M3 program, it was marriage, motherhood, and money making, and that was actually supposed to be around balance. And I think Miss Hollywood touched on that, and she was like, "Look, Mama needs this, or Mama needs that," and that is actually very true. And there's this misconception that if you're going to dedicate yourself to marriage and motherhood, that then you just kind of disappear. And I actually have been thinking about changing my program to M4. And the fourth M is me. Because you do have to develop yourself. You do have to grow yourself. You do evolve. You do have to have time for yourself. You do have to have a vacation. None of the other three things can actually really work properly, you're not going to be a good mother, you're not going to be a good wife, and you're certainly not going to be able to build wealth, which is the money-making element. If you're depleted, sick, bitchy, angry, because you will if you don't take time for yourself. So I just think it's very important to always say that that's very important. It's actually very true. And that's what actually women are afraid of. They're afraid of losing themselves, but you actually don't have to. It's a balance. So that's the most important thing, is that balance it all. Where you can find me, I'm also at the Black Business School. I have 2 courses. One is for homeschooling and one is how to emancipate yourself from the workplace and build the life that you want. I also would like you to please support us at Pads for Our Girls. We supply sanitary pads to girls who experience period poverty. padsforourgirls.com. Even the smallest amount counts.
Thank you so much, Nomalanga. Miss Black Hollywood.
I'm just going to say this. I think that with everything in life, my dear friend, Dr. LaNée has taught me there has to be strategy. So I think when you are planning to become a mother, and I know you can't really plan every part of this process, as we all know, being mothers, and you can't really plan that. But if you can at least like start having those conversations early about like including and incorporating, what does losing myself look like? What does that look like? What do I feel like I'll lose if I join with you and have these children? Like, there's some things that I'm going to need, and just advocate for yourself in that way. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood. Listen, today we are having a Rise conversation featuring Aisha Verzi and Jermaine Fletcher. We are talking about how annuities can change your life. And so I can't wait to have this. We can't wait to have this conversation. I mean, I'm not going to be on, but definitely Aisha is having the conversation, and Jermaine, it's going to be amazing. I will put the link in the chat.
Awesome sauce. All right, coolio. All right. And so my final thought is really just, man, Black love is amazing, right? At the end of the day, I wish every Black man had a beautiful Black woman. I wish that kings and queens could come together and families could be built, and we could do things the right way, right? We can find somebody and get eye contact with them, and both families get along well, and we have strong villages that support these families, and we raise kids, and we in a perfect world, that's what it is, right? That's what it looks like. There's enough men for women, there's enough women for men, kids get along. And I think that it's realistic if we put in the energy, the effort, and the work. And I think that these are just conversations that need to be had with our young people, right? I don't know what we can do for those of us over 30 and 40. We've seen too much, we've experienced too much, but for the young people between 20 and 30, I think they can still be saved, right? So I think it's having healthy conversations and showing them healthy relationships. Like, if we get our shit together, then maybe we can show them something great, because I think we've tainted them. I think we've messed them up by showing them our shenanigans. And so yeah, that's it. That's my take. Let's get it together. I'm Dr. LaNée Javette. You can find me at I am Dr. LaNée Javette. Do you want me to run through these stats real quick, or just go straight to outro?
Oh yeah, you know what? Go through the stats, please.
Okay. So women are increasingly delaying marriage and childbirth compared to previous generations. Childcare costs continue rising, creating financial pressure for families. More women are becoming primary earners or financially independent households. Studies continue showing women often carry more caregiving and household responsibilities, and the cost of living continues impacting daily family planning decisions nationwide. So again, just healthy conversations with the young people, examples, right? Showing them the right way to do it. This conversation is bigger than marriage and motherhood. It's about identity. Women today have more options, more independence, and more freedom to ask questions previous generations often did not have the luxury to ask. Some people see these changes as empowerment. Others see them as a challenge to traditional family structures. But one thing is clear: when women gain more economic power and social freedom, the conversation about relationships, sacrifice, and fulfillment changes too. And whether people agree or disagree, these conversations are shaping how future generations think about love, family, and partnership. That being said, we want to say thank you so much for joining us on today. If you do not want to miss an episode, please text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Again, that's Queens to 87948. You can also rewatch the replays on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify. Like, share, subscribe. Go to flynubianmoney.com if you are interested in joining or learning or furthering your wealth knowledge. And then always tune in with us Monday through Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. We will see you guys tomorrow. As always, go out, be blessed, have a great day, be bold, be brilliant, be black, stay black, and be one. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
It's not over.